Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. My name is Feolami Awe-Joseph, and I am your host. And I'm really excited to be here with you all, especially because this is our first sit-down episode for season 2. It's been such a long time since I've done this, and I'm really excited because I've had so many life changes since last year. I mean, I started the Youth Have a Voice podcast in April of last year, and actually in May of last year. So I started the Youth Have a Voice podcast in May of last year, and it's been a journey since then. First of all, we got recognized by Global Citizen, which was honestly amazing. I never thought that we would have actually gotten recognized because guess what? Last year, when the Global Citizen Emerging Creative Programs had opened, I just decided to apply. Mind you, I think we only had like 3 episodes out. I didn't even get a feedback response from them on if my application was successful or not. And then sometime earlier this year, I think about May or April, I just got an email telling me that I had been selected for the program and they would love to hear more about the work we do on this podcast and how more people can basically learn more about it. And since then, even though now we're just starting season 2 off again, we've grown in community. Our subscribers have grown. More people are listening in, even for the old episodes. And I'm sure with our new audience, this season is going to be phenomenal. And I'm really excited for everything that's going to be happening this season. And that leads us to today's topic on what this sit down episode is going to be about. First of all, this is the first sit down episode that you would probably see, or one of the first that you'd see, where you can actually see my face. I thought that it'd be great if maybe you could see me more as I'm talking, just so that you can put a face if you're watching the recording on YouTube or in case you're listening. But then I thought it'd be awesome if you guys could also see me as I have this sit down episodes in comparison to season 1. We're always getting bigger, we're always getting better, and I'm so excited. Today's for seriousness. That's why I'm wearing this suit today. But yeah, today is going to be really serious, and I'm going to be talking about why you shouldn't be afraid to be seen trying. I'm talking about being shameless. And this is a really exciting topic for me because I would say that almost every opportunity I've gotten since when I was an early teenager to now being in my early 20s has been as a result of my shamelessness and not being afraid to be told the word no, or not being afraid to be seen trying to do things, regardless of what other people may think or regardless of what other people may know about me or the misconceptions people may have. So I think I would ask a rhetorical question to start off. I don't know if maybe anyone has ever wanted to try something, but they stopped themselves because they were scared of what other people may think about them. So think to yourself, have you ever wanted to try something new? Maybe social media, or maybe starting a business, or maybe starting a nonprofit, or making music, anything, or starting an internship, starting a job, and you are afraid of even starting because you are afraid of what other people may think about you. This is actually more common than we think. And so many people actually get scared when it comes to certain circumstances because they are scared of what other people may judge them about, or they're scared of what people may say about them. When I started my initiative when I was 16, I had just really kicked off and I started posting publicly on social media when I was 17. And when I started posting public on social media, I think it took us about a month to get to about 1,000, 2,000 followers on TikTok, because TikTok was one of the platforms that we really grew quickly. And I remember I told one of my then colleagues at the time, and I remember she was talking about, oh, that this thing you're doing, how important is it to people? You're not even showing your face. Because then it was all just posts. We were not as big as we are now. We hadn't grown as much as we have now. So everything was mainly just me working with my passion and sharing tips on social media to help people. And she was like, oh, it's not possible for you to have grown that far. So it was mainly from a point of envy or jealousy. And there was also a lot of doubt she was trying to flow into my mind that this thing I'm doing, that how effective is it really? And as time has it and as God has it most of the time, when people usually berate you, as long as you're doing something that's important, you keep on growing and expanding. And that's kind of what I've been able to do so far. So this was me being shameless without really understanding what pathway I wanted to take or what journey I wanted to do in. And also a lot of my speaking opportunities, recently I've been really focused on wanting to have speaking opportunities, talking. I love to talk to people and I love being able to foster collaborations and partnerships. I've been able to foster a lot of collaborations and partnerships even before I turned 20. And now that I'm 20, I just see how I was so shameless when I was younger, and that shamelessness has really helped me to grow and develop because I will just reach out to people. I don't know them. You could be the CEO of the company, and I'll just ask you for something just because I think that, well, I have the ability to do what it takes to get to that place. So if I have that ability, why do I have to shy away because I'm younger than everybody else? I recently graduated from the non-profit leadership and management course at Lagos Business School after about 2 years of not being eligible for the program. And I was probably one of the youngest people to graduate, and most people didn't even know my age at the time. But I just thought that, you know what, I think this is a great thing for me to be part of. I have the ability, I know I have the ability of what it takes. And I think for anyone who's listening to me today, I definitely do think that sometimes people really berate themselves because they think that they don't have what it takes to actually get where they want to be at. I just think it's necessary. It's a kind of negative mindset to have because in my head, I do think that if you do think you have what it takes to get to a certain place, you should just go for it regardless of what anybody else says because you waiting, there's someone else that's not going to wait. There's someone else that's going to take that leap of faith. And I remember last season I spoke about how ideas are sometimes like droplets. As they drop in someone's mind, I think I'm using a new analogy this time, but as they drop in someone's mind, that idea is not just in that person's mind, it's also being dispersed to other people as it's dropped in your mind. So if you don't act on it, the person, that person has been dispersed to essentially will act on it. And then when the idea then happens and then blows, you're like, oh, well, I thought about this too. I had the ability to do this too, but then you also need to make sure that you're actively working on your ideas. You need to always have it figured out. You don't need to have all the ideas in the world to be able to make it happen, but then just building up, starting small is actually what is important as you work on your ideas and you work on things that make you afraid. And I do think that it's really important to know that you're not on the same pathway as everybody else. I think that's something that makes people afraid when it comes to starting up projects or starting up ideas, especially in the public eye, is what will people say? I mean, people would always hate you when you start up something because they don't know it. And sometimes you're lucky that people are supportive of the work you're doing, but then everyone is always going to be supportive of the work you do. As long as you know the reason why you started and what you intend on achieving from that, then everybody else's opinion on what you want to do should not matter. So this means, for example, if you want to grow on social media, I know that youth these days, this is something that they're really focused on. If you want to grow on social media, maybe if you're afraid of what your family members or your friends say, block everybody and then just start posting. And you never know if you're consistent, you may eventually grow and become more stable. If maybe you want to start a business, maybe don't ask your family members or friends for advice. Look externally, reach out to people externally because sometimes your family is not the one that's always going to help you. Sometimes it's not always going to be your friends. So if this is something that you're usually afraid of, don't limit your circle to the circle you currently know. Try to expand to other people. Don't be afraid of hearing the word no. I can't emphasize this enough. And I think it's really important to anybody because when people hear the word no, sometimes they think that their ideas are useless or there's no next steps to take. But then from the word no, actually, sometimes it's a way to reevaluate yourself. What can I do better? How can I improve on this? So the next person I'm pitching to can actually see reason in what I am doing. So being told no shouldn't be an avenue for you to think that, okay, I've been rejected now. There's no more hope for me. And I think for so many people, they are so afraid of that rejection that they just quit, but they'll rather not do anything at all because they don't want to be rejected. So I think in terms of tips of what to do is you want to be shameless and you want to start off less afraid, the first thing I would say is to start small. You don't need to have everything out figured out, but start small and also be consistent in what you're doing. You don't need to have all the resources in the world, but then just start small, start building up. Get advice from external people. Don't always just limit your advice to your family members and friends because they may not be the ones to give you the best advice you need. If they are supportive, yes, reach out to them. But then if you're not getting the energy you need, know your why and know why you started so that you make sure that they're not discouraging you and you're still making sure you're on the right pathway to what you want to accomplish. The next thing I would say is to document your progress. I think that sometimes it's so easy to think that no progress is being made. I personally journal and I encourage everyone to journal. I have about really now 4 different journals, and I have journals for different things. So I have journals from different phases of my life, from when I was an early teenager to mid teenager to late teenager. And now I've opened another journal in my early 20s. I also have ideation books. I try to take pictures and videos a lot because it's so easy to forget where you're coming from or what you've started. But then having a documentation of things you've done also encourages you to be more grateful, because sometimes you do think that's you're behind everyone else, or you don't know what to do. But then when you're documenting your progress, when you're making sure that everything is being noted down and you can actually see what you're working on, you're more likely to even channel your energy even into bigger and greater things, because you're like, oh, I was able to do this. I came from this and I've been able to get this far. I can do better than even where I was before. So documentation is really important. So not just the risk, just not the end, but the build up of how you started. So not just results are what you need to work on. And then also celebrations are important. Celebrate little milestones. I mean, we just hit 50 subscribers as of the time I checked on the Youth Have a Voice podcast on YouTube. That's a milestone in my opinion. Thank you so much for 50 subscribers. Some people may see these milestones as little, but then you know where you started from. I mean, imagine being in a room and there are 50 people listening to you. You're going to feel, yes, imagine 50 people coming up to you. Let's not even use dream analogy. Imagine 50 people coming up to you and telling you like you did an amazing job. I'm sure your ego will be off the roof that day. Because I do think that social media also has made people desensitized towards numbers. Because if maybe you're not getting thousands or millions of people, you think that you're not on the right track. But then just start and don't focus on numbers when it comes to start certain things. I mean, I barely had, maybe when Curiosity reached out to me, we barely had 30 subscribers or 40 subscribers on our YouTube channel, but then we've been able to grow so much since then. So don't just focus on numbers. Celebrate your small wins. You don't need to have the biggest wins to be able to know that you're making progress. Small progress is still progress, because once you're consistent, you're still going to make sure that you're getting the right results, and you finally get to the end goal of wherever it is you want to be at. Another thing I would say is find yourself a safe circle. There's always going to be people that will still support you, even if you have negative Nancy's and negative people around you. So find yourself a safe circle of people that actually care about the work you do. Imagine starting a business now, for example, and it's even your friends or your family that's telling you that your business is useless, you don't understand what you're doing. There will also still be people that support what you do. So try not to focus. So basically block out the noise. If someone isn't supporting you, technically you shouldn't really have them around your circle, or you should just avoid them so that they don't demoralize you, because you know what you want to do. And yes, even if something fails, being able to start and know where you started from, I'm just making sure that okay, you can learn from your mistakes or your failures if they do happen is important. So just try to block out negative people from your life. Find a safe circle of people that actually support you, because I promise you there are always people that will support you. There are always people that have your back out there. So block out noise from negative people and just make sure that you keep on building and thriving, regardless of wherever you find yourself. And I think my last point would be detach your worth from people's opinions. Sometimes also there's the likelihood that maybe if you start off something small, you would have people that support you. But even as you get bigger, that support may dwindle. So never tie your worth to the opinions of other people. So sometimes people that support you today are not people that support you tomorrow. And people that don't support you today will sometimes be the ones that will support you tomorrow. But just make sure that you understand why you started, and you're not making sure that you're tying your worth or your abilities to the opinions of people. Because if that's the case, you're never going to actually accomplish anything, because you're always going to be thinking, oh, what did A say about me? What did B say about me? What did C say about me? So just make sure you know your why and why you started. And I think on that note, I've come to the end of the first sit-down episode for this season. There will be so much more, and I'm really excited. We've already had some really amazing guests, and I'm sure as you've already heard, and a couple more guests that we've had for this season are really phenomenal. And I'd like to thank you all for joining today's episode. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share to your friends, your family members, your enemies, anybody. Let them be inspired by this episode and our other episode. And I will see you in our next episode. Goodbye.